Mark Henry against John Cena for the WWE Championship is the next match that we're going to talk about, and I'll give them credit for one thing too that I didn't see coming here. I kind of figured that they were going to go with the stereotypical attitude adjustment win. Now I don't like that they went with the STF. Henry should not have tapped out, but hey, at least they didn't do the completely obvious thing.
World's strongest tap. But to me, they're both the same thing. Tapping out's arguably a little worse for somebody who's supposed to be booked as a legitimate badass monster, but that's just me.
The stupid thing going into this match, though, is we've seen John Cena give the AA to Mark Henry dozens of times. And now they're going to act like he can't. I know that it's kind of like you're supposed to not necessarily like forget what you've seen that wasn't recent in wrestling, but kind of. They sort of act like you need to know everything in the past, but if we tell you something that you should just believe it because now it's the new thing. But it's still
who was it that posted that picture of John Cena putting Mark Henry in the STF and then JBL going, this is probably going to be the first time John Cena's ever made Mark Henry tap, and then it shows a picture from like '08 where it shows him tapping to the STF, and then Michael Cole is holding a sign.
That was me, and that won't be the only reference to 2008 tonight.
Ah, okay.
And I don't know. I mean, really, like, we went into this, we knew that John Cena was going to win.
Absolutely.
So that killed a lot of it immediately. And that killed a lot of it before they even had the start of the match. Like, we knew that this is what was going to happen. John Cena had to come out on top. Because they weren't going to give it to Mark Henry, let's be honest. It would have been awesome, I think, if they would have given it to Mark Henry, because he's the man. But
I think what angers me the most about this is that they built up Mark Henry so well these past few weeks for a one-time feud. I mean, they're moving on to Daniel Bryan for SummerSlam.
I did call that, didn't I? That it would be a one pay-per-view program.
I know, but I hate that. It reminds me of when John Cena won the title in '06, and they were doing that with every big star. Like, there was a period where he was seemingly just jobbing out guys left and right on the roster month after month, and I hated that. I hated it then, and I hate it still.
You know what makes me laugh? They tried to make Mark Henry's match with John Cena look like the rape scene in Shawshank Redemption.
What? I totally don't follow this logic at all.
Think about it. They're trying to make him look like a real huge underdog. You've got John Cena, who's a WWE champion. He's defeated The Rock. He's the big star of the company, and yet you're trying to make him out to be the guy who can't defeat Mark Henry, who had all the odds stacked against him again. And they keep going back to this logic. And the problem is, he just looked like a small child in comparison, even though wrestling fans remember the fact that he's done this before. He's wrestled Henry, and he's had matches with Henry where he's taken the guy out within minutes.
I'd like to say that John Cena fought off the sisters, but that wouldn't be the truth
If
now.
he fought off the sexual chocolate.
It went on for years. I'll never forget the way John Cena held on to that pillow.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
That was a good one, Freeman.
Oh, Shawshank.
Best movie of all time.
Agreed.
But, yeah, the STF, that annoyed me, the way that ended like that. I thought it was kind of funny that Henry did the low blow to John Cena. Just because it's always funny to see John Cena get kicked in the balls.
I was expecting to see him to pop out of his boots.
That little spot with the turnbuckle was kind of interesting that they kind of dragged that out a little bit, where Henry takes off the padding with the turnbuckle, and then they switch it in the O spot, and that actually becomes like something that John Cena uses. Which, did anybody else just flat out see that coming when it started happening?
Mm-hmm.
That always happens. It's like it's been done so much that it's commonplace now.
Mm-hmm. They might as well actually do like the thing that you're not expecting, where somebody takes that off and then they just immediately grab the person's head, slam it into it, and it's just like, that is it. This is reality. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We kind of knew what this was going into it, so I'm not too surprised.
Yeah, it was good for what it was. I scored some points, so I don't really give a crap.
And who has Mark Henry right now?
Me.
Braden.
Yes, that is Braden. So yeah, Braden lost 10 points with this, and Michael Burhan got 35 points for a successful retaining.
Congrats to Burhan.
I wanted to see him lose.
So did
I
I.
didn't care to have the investment in him. I wanted to see him lose.
Yeah, well, good luck. That'll be an ending for many pay-per-views to come, I'm sure. No,
I
he didn't
know,
end the
that's what
pay-per-view
I'm-
tonight.
Why do you
Which-
think I basically put him on my team? Because I knew that he was going to win like the entirety of the year.
And by the way, was anybody else surprised that the WWE title match actually didn't main event the pay-per-view? I found that to be a little surprising when All-Stars
Not-
the All-Stars match was put over it.
Not
I'm
considering
just-
who won.
Yeah.
And by the
Yeah.
way, don't worry, Braden. If it hadn't been for the fact that I picked up Ryback, I would have probably lost more than anybody else because I would have left with 40 points lost had it not been for Ryback. You and I lost about the same number of points. It's just that I had Ryback with me, so it evened me out because I'd have lost 40 because everybody else on my team lost.
The roll-up really made you go a long way. But yeah, this match, despite the lackluster ending, I would say it was good to very good. Decent stuff. Probably the best match that Cena and Henry have ever had against one another. I know that's not saying a lot.
It had all the mechanics of a solid wrestling match. A story. Was
absolutely.
These guys, put the story over. But the problem is, if there wasn't a situation where Cena was bitch slapping him before, there wouldn't have been, people wouldn't have had that much of an issue. I wouldn't have had that much of an issue with it. They had to, in my opinion, they had to put Henry strong against Cena previously. They would have to show how awesome Henry is in comparison, and they never got to do that.
Because this was only supposed to be a 1 month thing. If this had been, like I said, if this had gone on for the rest of the season, they would have and should have done that. But this was just a one-time, let's get him to SummerSlam situation. And like I said before, I think that's such a waste because Mark Henry is still one of the few believable heels in the main event that can go toe-to-toe with Cena.
Yeah, no, but the problem was, previously, he never went toe-to-toe with Cena. There's more than one occasion I can probably give you footage that shows that the guy never went toe-to-toe with Cena. So by doing this whole underdog, I'm lifting the guy up and I'm collapsing under my own weight, even though I've picked up Edge and the Big Show for an attitude adjustment, it makes no sense.
I think the way it works though is since Mark Henry just came back, it's kind of like a mental reset. Like this is the new Mark Henry, you have to have new pretenses when it comes to this Mark Henry because he's just coming back. He's new and improved.
If you was picking up Henry and the Big Show, then I'll give that one to you. But I'm sorry, I disagree because the fact is, he played some good mind games with Cena. I was expecting to see mind games in this match. I wanted to see Henry playing on those fears that Cena had. Instead, it was more, I can't pick him up, so I'm just going to wrap him in a freaking submission hold instead.
Alrighty, it seems like we should move on now to All Stars in the final part of episode 89 coming up your way.